Well, it went about as well as can be expected. So I am on my own, completely on my own right now, and I've been here for 4 minutes and 20 seconds. But I'm on my own. Kris is experiencing what I can only describe as Microsoft caused technical difficulties. And to quote the Netflix television show Space Force, well, you know where I'm going with this. But yeah, so I'm here. And welcome to another fantastic episode of Anarchy Among Friends Roundtable Discussion. I am the Inked Anarchist, and I am the only one here at the moment, and I really apologize about that. I am hoping to get at least a co-host before too long here. He is still fighting with those Microsoft updates. But before I even get started on anything else, let me remind you that we are covered by the BIPCOT No Government License, which allows for the use and reuse of any part and every part of this podcast by anyone and everyone except for governments and the bludgies thereof. We are also covered by Brandenburg v. Ohio from 1969, which says that the government cannot punish inflammatory speech unless said speech is intended to create or incite imminent violent lawless action and is likely to incite such action. As such, everything that we say here, and by we right now, I mean entirely just me, is entirely hypothetical, and no one's listening to me anyway, so who cares? Yeah, so it's entirely me right now. But I have a show planned, and I am going to jump into it because I think that I can totally handle this on my own, right? Like I'm completely unsupervised and I have no adults, and I'm sure it'll be completely fine, right? It'll be fine. It'll be what could what could go wrong? What could go wrong except for my mic randomly muting itself and me being completely unaware since there's no one else in the studio. It looks to be working though, so I'm pretty sure that everyone's hearing me and I'm not completely talking myself, which would just be insane, right? Like that would oh my. But yes, so we are here again. It is episode 248, which I have titled "Oh God, we need an adult," because I really need an adult. However, there are a number of things that I want to talk about tonight, and I am jumping into them, at least one of them, with or without Kris being on, because he is supposed to be here at some point. The first thing I want to talk about, if I can find it in my list of stuff, because Kris isn't here and I figure I can just talk about whatever the hell I want, no one can stop me, is Brazilian kites. And I'm not talking about kites like birds. I'm talking about like literal like kites, string, plywood, fabric, newspapers, whatever, right? The kind of stuff that Mary Poppins had the kids construct. The hilarious thing about them is they're apparently endangering lives. And there's discussion about a national ban, which is actually a pretty significant thing in Brazil, because in Brazil, kites are like a part of their national identity. Like, it's a really, really big thing. Kind of a weird thing to be really big, but it is. Oh, hey, Kris has joined me. Finally, thank God.
Yeah, sorry about that. How's the microphone sound? Is it picking it up good?
Yeah. So you sound good. We're good.
Good. I got a new mic, an actual mic. You can see it there.
Yeah. Hey, look at that. You're like almost a grown-up.
Almost. Don't give me too much credit.
Well, I titled this episode, "Oh God, we need an adult," for a reason.
That's fair.
Because
that's absolutely fair.
You were on just in time for me to get into the first article, which I thought was just this hilarious, fun article. It was going to be the hidden one, but I want to talk about it first because I think it's really funny. It's the kite ban in Brazil.
I had heard something about this. I didn't hear. I don't know. It sounded weird to me.
So, apparently, kite fighting, believe it or not, is a really big thing in Brazil. It's like a huge thing in Brazil. And in the object of kite fighting is to cut the string of your opponent's kite.
Okay.
With your kite's string without losing your kite.
So the intent is to like make the lines cross each other and basically rub one raw until it snaps.
Right. And get the other one to snap without your own snapping. That's apparently like a big thing in Brazil.
Okay.
But
weird, but okay.
It's apparently they're saying that it is endangering lives and prompting a push for a national ban on kites, of all things.
How is it endangering lives?
Well, let's get into it. So it says two groups of men stood on opposite rooftops, perched onto a hillside overlooking Rio de Janeiro's Ipanema beach, taunting one another. It was a macho showdown between opponents wielding unlikely weapons, kites. On this July morning in the impoverished neighborhood, they were using taut, sharp-edged kite lines known as cerol in Portuguese to slash their opponents' lines, ripping their kites from the sky. Kite fighting has caused horrific injuries and even deaths. And a bill moving through Brazil's Congress is seeking to prohibit the manufacture, sale, and use of the razor-sharp lines nationwide, with violators facing 1 to 3 years in prison and a hefty fine. The lines are already outlawed in some congested areas of Brazil, including Rio, but that didn't appear to trouble the men jousting with their kites above Ipanema. Indeed, some of those flouting the law were police officers. A couple of them called kites their therapy. Quote, "That's the logic of kite flying, cutting another person's line," said Alexander Matasso da Silva, a military police officer with bulging tattooed biceps. He goes by Jaro, and in 2014, he traveled to France to test his mettle at an international kite fighting festival where he won the kite fighting competition. We always try
international kite fighting.
International kite fighting championship. Yes, there are international kite like get-togethers, and apparently they have championships.
Okay.
It is a thing. I mean, there are grown adult men who get really, really into remote control cars.
I mean, yeah, but
so I'm just saying, it's actually, if you I believe it is James May's R-Man in. I think he has an R-Man in Brazil, if I remember correctly. I think it's James May, but he actually gets to do this, like participate in this. And it is a weird thing, man. It is very interesting. They take it extremely seriously.
Well, I mean, they take a lot of things extremely seriously down there. Apparently, they take Twitter extremely seriously down there to the point where they completely banned it. So,
well, a very corrupt judge banned it because on Twitter he's getting called out for his corruption. Yes, that Brazil's an interesting place. It is an interesting place. If you've never been, I can't really recommend anybody go, just because of the crime rate and things. But if you feel like playing with fire, tell you what.
I mean, that depends on your definition of playing with fire.
Also,
if you don't mind life in prison for doing innocuous shit, yeah, that's a good place to go.
Yeah, I don't know if you've looked at this article, but if you look at the dude who is flying the kite, this Jaro guy, like, I am like, does it not look like he has like a car rim to hold his line? I'm pretty sure that's like an actual car rim that this man is holding.
I don't know if it's a rim. Maybe it's like two hubcaps slapped together.
I don't know, but it looks intimidating and kind of post-apocalyptic, if I'm honest. But he said, we always try to fly the kites in suitable places to not put anyone at risk. There's no risk here because the kite falls into the woods, Jaro said, pointing to the tree-covered mountain above which the kites were dancing. Still, there were narrow pedestrian alleyways below. Kites have a long history in Brazil and particularly popular in Rio's favelas. The poor neighborhoods often cling to the mountains overlooking the surrounding city, where cottage industry uses bamboo and tissue paper to produce the kites. For many, kites evoke childhood and lighthearted diversion, and some do fly kites simply to feel the wind's tug upon a harmless cotton string. But attached to cutting lines, kites can be fatal, particularly when sweeping across highways where speed motorists struggle to spot them. While kite fighting competitions are held safely in designated areas in countries like France and Chile, in Brazil, its widespread unregulated use has caused numerous accidents over the years. To try to fend off the danger of motorcyclists.
I was going to say, I was just thinking about motorcyclists. Could you imagine you're riding along, you've been wearing your brain bucket, one of these kites gets loosed and you go right through the cutting line?
Oh, you won't go through the cutting line. The cutting line will go through you. Which is kind of the issue. It says to fend off the danger, motorcyclists affix thin antenna-like posts equipped with razors at the front of their bikes to snip away kite lines. The company that administers one of Rio's main highways regularly hands them out to motorcyclists. But cases of motorcyclists having limbs severed or throats slit remain common, leading several Brazilian states to pass laws regulating the lines, according to political consulting firm Governmental Radar. Federal bill to outlaw the razor-sharp lines nationwide was approved by Congress's lower house in February and is now heading toward a Senate vote. In June, Ana Carolina Silva de Silveira was riding on the back of a motorcycle when a line slashed her neck. Quote, I went to the hospital screaming that I didn't want to die. The 28-year-old lawyer said, I'm really happy that I'm alive. There's no official data on the number of injuries and deaths nationwide caused by cutting lines. However, since 2019, there have been more than 2,800 reports of illegal use of the lines in Rio alone, according to the Mov Rio Institute, a nonprofit that runs a hotline. Yeah, so apparently, fun fact, kites can be deadly.
Well, I mean, I'm sure the U.S. military has found a way to weaponize kites at some point or another.
Oh, kites are one of the earliest weaponized aircraft, actually, historically. We have records going way back.
I was going to say, how hard would it be to take your kite frame and just sharpen the front edge and learn how to... I mean, it wouldn't be that...
Oh, I mean, it's not even that. Like what you can do, and we have historical record of, is they would attach bombs to the kite, and
I mean, that's not that different than what they're doing with drones right now, like in Ukraine and shit.
Well, right, exactly, and it's interesting because like kites have a direct lineage to like modern military aircraft. And like what they would use them for is they'd hang the bombs from them and then they'd fly them up, a ways and have a second line. And then once it was pretty much, they could figure about approximately over the enemy lines, you release the bomb.
Yeah.
And down she goes. And
sounds like it would work really well in World War One.
Yeah. They'd also use them for signaling. That was another big thing. So depending on the color kite that you send up or how many kites you send up, whatever, you can communicate over vast distances that way very, very easily. I want to say it was the Chinese. I could be wrong, but the Chinese used to use them to signal danger. So they'd have like red kites at stations for
Right.
during the day along the Great Wall. And if they
So
spotted
instead of-
incoming danger.
Because at night they would use the signal fires.
Yeah, at night you can see the fires, but during the day it might be difficult. But a really big red kite flying, you're gonna notice that. So that was the idea, is then you release the kite goes up into the air, everyone from miles and miles can see it. They know the Mongols are coming for whatever good that was gonna do, because obviously history says
Horseback
that
archers
Mongols
are a thing.
Well, yeah, and the Mongols, history says the Mongols really never actually cared that much about the Great Wall. It never really deterred Jack, but much like Hadrian's Wall, that never actually stopped anything because most of the guards on Hadrian's Wall were related to the people on the other side of it.
Right.
So they just let them through.
Well, and on the Great Wall, there's a number of gates that were literally left open on purpose for commerce and things like that. So
Yeah.
How hard would it be to come through under the guise of commerce and oh no, ambush.
Yeah, well, I mean, and the idea was that you would close it if you saw danger coming. Like
Right.
that was the concept, is you'd close it if you saw danger coming, but the problem is you have to see it coming in order to close the gate.
Right.
So
Small problems, it's
yeah, well, and I think they would close them at night if memory serves, so at least there's that. But yeah, it generally did not go super well. The next thing I want to talk about, and I was waiting for you to get on to talk about it, so I feel like we got to get this out of the way. So there was a shooting at a school in Georgia.
Yes.
Appalachia High School in Georgia. There was a shooting that occurred
about 45 minutes northeast of Atlanta.
Yeah, so it's not super far off from Atlanta. And as soon as it happened, everyone was looking at the FBI and going, "Say the line, Bart." And immediately they did, in fact,
say the line. He was on our radar. We interviewed him a year ago.
Yeah, he was known to us. Yes. Not only was he known to the FBI and being monitored, but two things. I have two different articles to kind of talk about it. One is that Discord users clear back in May of last year, May of 2023, tipped off
the feds,
the FBI, that they needed to be concerned about this person. In May of 2023, more than a year and a half ago.
Yep.
This happened. So it says this is not the article this was supposed to direct to. I hate when Yahoo does that. I hate it so much, where they change where their links go to.
The long and short of it is he was on a private Discord channel, where he was talking actively about school shootings and his desire to engage in one and all of that. And they basically copied the entire chat log and sent it to the FBI like, hey, maybe maybe you want to take a look at this. And then on top of that, he was also, if I am remembering correctly, and I may not be, but if I'm remembering correctly, he was reported by some of his peers as, hey, maybe we should pay attention to this kid. And then the day of, his own mother called the school and was like, hey, you should be worried about him. I don't know where he is.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was exactly it. Like they had talked about it a whole bunch and been like, "Hey, you really need to look at this guy. You really need to like be concerned because this is not like just some idle chit chat. Like he's
Mm-hmm.
actively planning this." And then his mom straight up warned the school that he was about to shoot it up.
Yep. About an hour, I think it was either 30 minutes to an hour before he actually started shooting. She called the school and was like, "Hey, I can't find him. He's not here, and neither is his gun. Maybe you should look."
Yeah, and yeah, because he had texted, "I'm sorry, Mom," to her.
Because he was expecting to die.
Yeah, and then she drove towards the school, which was more than 3 hours away. She learned that it already happened when she was halfway there, but she had texted them. In reported text sent by Marcy, she told her family, "I was the one that notified the school counselor at the high school." Yeah, apparently her sister had also, so the aunt had also called the school. So like multiple people had notified the school that this was potentially going to happen. And the counselor essentially said, "Hey, we're not worried."
Comments that didn't age well. We're not worried.
Yeah. But
Jesus
apparently,
Christ.
like, it's just, and his father's being charged as well.
Yes, because he provided the weapon. He bought his son, who he knew to be maybe a little mentally off kilter, an AR, and then the kid turned around and used it.
Yeah. And like and the mother straight up said he should have been in therapy months ago. He really needed to talk to people. This was really, not a thing that should have happened. This was completely preventable. Like, I love that this happens again and again and again, right? With these school shootings where the family goes, "We tried to tell people, no one wanted to listen to us. We said that boy ain't right. Not one person wanted to listen to us." That happens. The people who knew them were like, "Yeah, that person was unstable. Like, that's why we didn't hang out with him.
Yeah,
he was clearly
you never,
like."
long and short of it is, you never once hear the people around that person go, "He was such a nice, quiet boy. I don't know what, or girl, or whatever the fuck that thing was in Nashville." You never hear them say, "Oh, they were such a nice person that just flipped their shit." No, it's always, they were kind of weird, or they were outcasts, or
They were it's pretty much always a like, "Oh yeah, this was inevitable. Like, they were going to do this." Like, always. And it's, so you hear that like family knew, friends knew, the community at large knew, the FBI knew and was well aware of how dangerous they were over and over again. And isn't it interesting that the FBI investigates all these armed, mentally unstable people who are loners and like high school age or just post high school age, who very clearly should not be trusted.
Yeah.
And left alone. And then magically somehow they go from kind of weird, unstable loner to school shooter. I wonder how that happens.
I'm not saying that it's Operation Northwoods, but it's Operation Northwoods.
I mean, and that's like, I'm actually, the thing that surprises me about this is not that he was known to the FBI. It's not that his entire family knew that, he was mentally unstable and they needed to be concerned. It's not any of this stuff. What amazes me is that he wasn't in therapy and on SSRIs already.
Yeah. Because most of the time that is the common thread.
Yeah, it's usually that they're on SSRIs, they're on some sort of medication, and then all of a sudden, and they're always on some sort of online group. And it's interesting, isn't it, that we have all these records of time and time again of the FBI encouraging these loners that are mentally unwell and have some sort of major issues.
They're not
to
encouraging them, Andrew. They're just talking to them.
Yeah, just talking, having conversation with, like, hypothetically, if you were to hijack an airplane, and hypothetically, yeah, that's
Yeah.
this is the shit that happens. I mean, every time.
Oh, quick interlude here. Jason had to pop in to remind us that it's the 2nd anniversary of Lizzie's in a Box.
Yes, Lizzie's in a box. And she's still there, the bitch. Oh,
I see Bo joined us too. Sorry for the glare, anybody who's actually watching this. I couldn't find a dome cover quick enough.
yes. Lizzie's in a box. But it just, I mean, this is every damn time that this happens. And the fact that I do appreciate the fact that I see more and more people starting to notice, right?
Well, I mean, how do you not notice at this point? It's the only one that wasn't on everybody's radar at the time was freaking Columbine all the way back in 99. And that's because it was really the first major school shooting amongst, teenagers in the U.S.
Well, yeah,
but
I mean,
ever
don't forget.
Since then,
well, and don't forget that the most deadly school-involved attack in American history was carried out by a guy with a dump truck and a fertilizer bomb.
Yeah. If you want to go talk about most deadly school shootings overall, I think wasn't it Texas Bell Tower?
Well, that wasn't really, I mean, that was on a campus, yeah.
It was a university campus. They count the Virginia Tech shooting as a school shooting, so.
Yeah. But I mean, even those don't compare to what the number of students and staff that were killed by that fertilizer bomb.
Talk about your off-the-shelf components.
And what you gonna do? You gonna ban fertilizer?
Right.
I mean, that's the thing. They go, well, if we only ban bomb, you don't want to ban assault weapons because you don't care about children. Well, you don't want to ban fertilizer and dump trucks because you don't care about children. How about that?
That's right.
And the clock tower shooting in Texas, that was with a bolt action rifle.
If I remember it was a Remington 700 chambered in .308.
I don't think it was a Remington 700. It was, because I think that predates the 700 being on sale. Texas clock tower. We need a Janie,
Right.
We need a Charles Whitman. He was a 25-year-old Marine Corps veteran, shot and killed 15 people, injured 31 others. Oh no, it was a Remington 700, and you're correct. It was
6mm though.
Yep, in 6mm, an original Remington 700.
Yep. The cartridge that lost to the 243 Winchester.
Yep, that's what it was, and that's what he shot everybody with during that, including a pregnant woman, killing also her unborn child.
Yeah. Would Kent State be considered a school shooting?
I count Kent State as a very deadly school shooting. Of course, the hoplophobes don't want to do that because it was perpetrated by the United States government. In fact, the worst mass shooting in American history occurred at Wounded Knee.
Right.
But they don't want to count that because it was carried out by government freaking agents. And when they say, I want to ban guns, they mean guns in the hands of civilians, not government. And if they admit that the government is responsible for all of the worst mass shootings and mass killings in the history of the United States, that kind of ruins their argument, doesn't it?
No, because see, we're a progressive society now, and we've evolved beyond that, Andrew. Waco.
Yeah. Ruby Ridge, Waco. I mean,
the
list goes on.
freaking airport guy in Arkansas that just happened this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
And those are just the high profile ones.
Yeah. Again, this is where government are the ones who are carrying this stuff out. So they don't want to talk about it because that ruins, because what they're literally saying when they say they want to ban assault weapons, which is this mysterious thing that they can never put their fingers on. All they'll say is, well, it's a gun designed to kill a whole bunch of people very quickly.
Then why do you have them?
I mean, if that's all it's designed for, if that's its sole purpose is to kill a bunch of people really quickly, then I would argue that is exactly what the Second Amendment is written to protect, because it's designed to kill a whole bunch of government agents really quickly, because that is the point of the Second Amendment.
Yep.
You can fight back against your fucking government. And Lord knows the government has a whole bunch of weapons designed to kill a whole bunch of people really quickly. It's what thermonuclear weapons are.
I was going to say, just ask the Japanese.
Yeah.
When the U.S. unleashed the power of the sun.
Don't touch our boats. Looking at you, Russia. Don't touch our boats.
China,
Iran.
Every
time Iran starts screwing with their boats, I'm like, Japan's over there going, oh, no.
Every time, I don't know if, I know you watch Habitual Line Crosser. I don't know if the rest of the audience does or not. There's always something where Japan pops up. Whatever you do, don't touch the boats.
We'll let you touch an awful lot of our things, right? You can break
Drones,
a lot of our toys,
airplanes,
but the boats.
That's where you're going to have a really bad day. Just ask Iran about Operation Praying Mantis.
Well, don't forget, as far as you know, I mean, even touching our drones, don't forget that we just sent F-22s back to the Middle East.
Yeah, they're currently in is it Doha? I think they're in Doha.
They just went back to the Middle East, and the last time there was an F-22 in the Middle East, Iran decided to get froggy with an American drone.
You should probably go home now.
Yeah, you should go home now. If you don't know that story, look it up. It's hilarious. The F-22 basically just prowled around Iranian Air Force for an extended period of time without them ever noticing at all. And their air traffic controllers did not notice.
I'll give you the Spark Notes version. Long story short, Iran scrambles up two Iranian F-4s to intercept an American
fucking
surveillance
F-4
drone.
Phantoms. These people haven't gotten jets since the revolution. Right. From anyone.
No, they've got some newer I'd say, I use the term newer loosely, but they have some of the newer MiGs, like they came out post the revolution that they got from Russia. But they have F-4s, they're trailing this drone, they're going to shoot it down, and the drone was being escorted by two F-22s. One of the F-22 pilots comes in underneath the F-4s, looks at what they have, goes, I'm not impressed. Gangster slides up next to it and just makes direct eye contact with the lead F-4 and go, you should go home now. Which is exactly what they did.
Yeah, my favorite part of that story is that it literally took visual identification for those pilots to realize he was there. They had to see him. He was within fucking yards of these aircraft. Yep. And they had to see him to know he was there. And then he flips over to their radio channel, which we know, and says, you should go home now. And they bug out hard.
Like, nope.
Yeah.
They're the Martians from Yeah, they're the Martians from Sesame Street in this situation. Nope, 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 nope.
Nope. Yeah, I mean it is just insane how quick they run, and yeah, because it's the scariest fucking aircraft in the sky. It is the only aircraft in history that the United States Congress has actually taken the time to put a law in place specifically for it that forbids the selling of it to even our allies.
Yep, capitalist America passed a law that they couldn't sell a highly profitable aircraft to anyone.
Good Lord. Okay, so do you want to be pissed off but entertained, or just pissed off?
Piss me off, and then we can entertain you. Then we can do the entertainment later.
Okay, so update on the homeless situation in La Crosse. We talked about it, I think, last episode. The fact that the town council had basically asked a committee of citizens to look into the homeless situation here and go, what should we do? And they were like, well, you could use this and this and this. And there's this former campground that isn't getting used as a campground anymore, but it's got shower facilities, bathroom facilities, and it would make the most sense to use that. And their response was to just ban all camping long-term on city property, to outlaw homelessness effectively. Well,
what a shock. I mean, government doing, bullshit to, the underprivileged or the people who have absolutely nothing to fall back on. Why would we expect anything else?
So to follow that up and that ban, city clears marsh trail of unsheltered campers. And there are pictures of literal bobcats and bulldozers bulldozing tents with strollers out front.
Yep.
In this article, says the city of La Crosse began clearing the area along the Vietnam Veterans Trail of unsheltered campers. Ironic, the name of it, considering that there's at least 10 of these people that are living down there that are Vietnam veterans. Trail of unsheltered campers early Wednesday morning. Police and other city workers start shortly before 8 a.m. of moving approximately 4 dozen people living in tents and makeshift shelters. Along the river's edge, larger items were loaded on old boats and dragged out by SUVs. Some trees also had to be cut down in order to move some of the items. Anything that wasn't taken by people in the encampments was thrown out. City workers gathered the items left behind. The items were then loaded onto dump trucks for removal. The city's efforts frustrated and those living in the marsh area, along with those who were there to help them. Where are 45 people supposed to go? Asked one resident of the encampment. Advocates and members of agencies who have helped the unsheltered population were on hand to provide what assistance they were allowed to. The city had posted notice of their move earlier this month after the city council passed an ordinance stating that the area will be cleaned up and property removed on August 28th. The trail is closed until the cleanup is complete. They came in and they bulldozed the homeless encampments. Just bulldozed them.
Yeah, it makes me think of The Princess Bride. They send in the brute squad to clean out the thieves camp, the thieves forest.
Yeah, because apparently, be getting abducted by aliens.
Air conditioner kicked on.
Oh, okay. Because apparently, being homeless and living in an area that is wooded, and the thing is a lot of people, like, if you're not from here, you don't know, but there's where the trail is. There's this huge earthen embankment, and then that you can't see past, and on the other side of that, in the marsh, right, this is marshy ground and woods. This is an area that no one ever goes, no one ever sees. In that area is where this homeless encampment was.
Yep.
Tucked away, no one could see it. They weren't bothering people, nothing else. And that is
where we're just trying to live.
Yeah, and they had tents. There are tents set up. There are, there's little, they all have little shelters, and they're just living as best they can out there. And essentially just living camping, and their homes get bulldozed. But wait, it gets better. Because of that, The La Crosse Parks director has asked the city for $270,000 for the marsh cleanup and added park security to make sure they don't come back. That move, by the way, on Friday was approved by the city council.
You know, I wonder what their reaction would be if there were people that actually cared about the homeless that maybe stood outside the homeless encampment in full kit.
They would come and they would shoot you. They would get into a gunfight with you. That's what would happen.
I mean, if you had a group of guys, you know, like the same guy, the same style or the same number of people who showed up during the Summer of Love to protect private businesses, those same people showed up for the people in these encampments.
The thing is not enough people would show up, and the other thing that pisses me off is their
Because not
argument.
enough
Well, we
people
have
care
to
about their fellow human.
Yeah, their argument is, well, there's 44 tons of garbage that still needs to be cleaned up. Well, here's the thing: is there was a time when down along that trail there were garbage receptacles.
Yep.
There were these plastic barrels that had concrete weights in the bottom of them, so they didn't blow away or anything. And they were chained in place, right? So they didn't wash away in the event of a flood, because that happens in the marsh. And these things were down there all over the place. So it was a 20-yard walk for people to take their garbage to places. Okay.
Yep. They took all that out to dissuade people from doing exactly what the homeless were doing.
Exactly. And like you just removed garbage receptacles. You removed a way for them to get rid of their garbage. So what they were doing is they were concentrating it all together in a great big hole, just like a garbage dump would be for a city.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you're now saying. You're going to need $250,000 in order to clean up for 44 tons of this stuff. Like, this is because you didn't give them a place to put it that you would haul away like you would everyone else who lived in the city. This is why this is an issue.
Mm-hmm.
If you had just given them somewhere to put it, they would have put it there.
If they had left them alone in the first place when they were in the old mobile refinery area, none of this would be an issue in the first fucking place.
Yeah,
but
when the tubes were down there.
But then they kicked them out of there so they could build high-end luxury apartments on the riverbank.
Yep. Yeah, now they're building this massive high-end living place in where the homeless encampment was. If that doesn't sum up America, right there, that you bulldozed a homeless encampment so that you could build luxury apartments so they would have a river view.
And then after they kicked them out of there, they turned one of the parks, Huska Park, into a homeless encampment. They're like, you guys can go down here, and that's
there was a legal one.
They're like, just take over this park, it's fine, and that's the way it goes. And then they kicked them out of there for no goddamn reason, because nobody else goes to Huska Park for any reason.
Well, there's the dog parks there. So people, the fancy people were taking their dogs to the dog park and then whined about all of the homeless. It's down by a slough of the Mississippi. If you don't know what a slough is, look it up. But it was down by a slough of the Mississippi.
You have to cross the slough to get onto the island which houses this park.
Yeah,
and
it's all ghetto down there.
Is literally right there.
Yeah, it's all ghetto down there. Like, there's nothing but ghetto housing down there anyway. And so, like, none of the ghetto people were complaining because, like, whatever, they didn't care. But it's the fancy people go down there because it was, like, at the time, it was the one dog park in town.
Right. Now
we have a second
on the north side too.
Well, we have a second one now that is a memorial park that was just dedicated to a woman and her dog who were both killed in a domestic violence incident.
Gotcha.
But the ridiculousness is that, like none of this would have been a problem if you worked with homeless people. Like homeless people are not a problem if you work with them.
No, homeless people aren't a problem in general. Homeless people are just people who can't afford housing, especially in this fucking economy, and it's only going to get worse.
And there are plenty
just trying to survive.
Yeah, there are plenty of and I'll give you that there are plenty of them that suffer from substance abuse problems, suffer from mental problems, all these other things. Okay, there's plenty of them, and there's some of them that if you give them resources, still won't use them, right?
Yeah,
they still won't, because, and you know why? Because they're being provided by government and they don't trust them, or they're being provided by rich people and they don't trust them. It takes time. You have to work with these people. You have to talk to them. They have to trust you, because they don't trust you, because the society has taught them that they are not welcome in it.
Mm-hmm.
Over and over and over again, they have been taught that they are not welcome in society, that society will do everything it can to abuse them and to treat them like crap and to figure out a way to screw them. And that is why they're homeless.
Yeah.
So why would they trust you? And if you take the time to get their trust, if you take the time to work with them, it's amazing how easy it is to work with homeless people.
Yeah,
having been homeless, I can attest. Anybody who was willing to work with me, it was amazing how easy my life was to work with them. They didn't regret working with me. But the problem is that most of the people, the majority of people who work with the homeless, also have unrealistic expectations, because the majority of people who work with the homeless think that if you throw a little bit at them, and if you give them, I'll give you this slight hand up and be like, hey, I'll put you in a hotel for 3 days, go find a job. Because, finding a job in 3 days with no permanent address, that's a thing that happens.
Right.
Like this is where the disconnect is, right? The disconnect in society is that the people who tend to want to deal with the homeless are doing it because like it makes them feel good that they're dealing with the homeless, right? It makes them feel like, oh, I'm helping out homeless people, so look at how great I am. And that's that's generally what happens, right? And they're rich and they're upper middle class, and they've been rich and upper middle class their entire lives, and so they don't understand that you can't just go get a job. They don't understand that if I have a history of mental issues, I'm not suddenly going to get over them because you showed me kindness.
Right.
Like this isn't what happens. You can't just hope that this is an issue that you're going to fix in a matter of days or a matter of weeks or a matter of months. This is years of working with people to try and get them to a point where they're no longer going to be homeless in general. So you have these really rich people who are completely disconnected from what it's like to be at that level of poverty and have no understanding of it, who then are trying to do this, not because they actually care about homeless people, because they want to be able to pat themselves on the back and they want to be able to stand up in front of their prosperity gospel fucking church and go, look at how great I fucking am.
Right.
And that's not how this fucking works. That doesn't fix the issues. That doesn't change the thing that is causing the problems in the first place. And you are not committed enough to actually change what is causing the problems. You're not committed enough, and you don't care enough to actually do anything. Not really. You don't care. You're hoping that if you throw these people look at it like there's somehow like some sort of like a token system where if they just put enough good people tokens into people, that suddenly a lifetime of mental problems or drug abuse or alcohol abuse or whatever will suddenly go away. And I have really, really terrible news for you. A Beautiful Mind, that movie, was bullshit. At the end of it, in the Russell Crowe movie where he seems to like be better from schizophrenia because she fell in love with him. No, that man has struggled every day of his life since with schizophrenia. He's still nuts.
Yep.
She just puts up with it. And she eventually fucking divorced him because she also couldn't take it. So I got bad news about that movie if you think that it gives you hope. Okay? This isn't how this shit works. And these people don't want to, they don't want to accept reality that like helping people is hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's really difficult. And instead, what they do is they try and throw a few dollars at it. They try and do some token gestures to make themselves feel better. And then when it inevitably doesn't work, because again, it's a token gesture, it isn't really fixing any problems, then they go, okay, well, now they clearly just don't want help. So let's just ban everywhere that they can go. And then we'll bulldoze their homes and take all of their possessions away and load them onto boats to sail down to the dump.
Because that's actually helping anything.
Yeah, what did you fix? You fixed nothing, and you fixed nothing because you never wanted to fix anything. This is the equivalent of having like a rod knock and you put new oil in the car and went, well, why didn't that fix it? I guess it's time to get rid of the car.
Yeah, this particular, especially in the Crosse, really hits me hard because I have a sister-in-law who's among those groups of people. And obviously we don't have a whole lot of interaction, because how do you communicate with somebody who has no lines of communication? But
yeah,
and you know, she's got all the different issues. It's just, to me, when I heard that there was that encampment down in the marsh, I was like, oh, good. That means that they're together and they're taking care of each other, because that's ultimately what a homeless encampment is. Is that
and they
people,
have rules.
Yeah, they have a more orderly society, so to speak, than the society at large. Largely because they don't have enforcers who are protected by those same laws that they're supposed to enforce, constantly threatening them within their community.
Yeah, they
It's
have
the
their
outside
rules,
influences.
Yeah, I mean, having lived in that encampment for a while, like not that specific one, the one that they initially cleared out, that was the tubes. There are rules. You get introduced. You show up. You get introduced to rules. You get charity too. Those people will give you like, hey, do you have a tent? Hey, do you have a blanket? Do you have a spot picked out? Like, and they will help you find a spot and they will help you get settled in and explain the rules to you and explain how society functions there and take you in and try and get all that figured out for you so that you can integrate into it.
Right.
There's an awful lot that society at large could learn from homeless encampments.
Yeah.
An awful lot. And instead, what is the city doing?
The time to figure it out.
Yeah, instead, what is the city doing? They're bulldozing it and then going, I need $250,000 so that I can get rid of all this garbage that I forced them into figuring out how to dispose of themselves intentionally, and also the stuff that we bulldozed into the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of giving them enough time to disassemble their tents and go elsewhere, we wouldn't want them to do that. So we gave them like 10 minutes to grab everything that they could and get the hell out. And then we started bulldozing their homes.
Yeah. They posted signage saying that they were going to do it, but they posted it at the ends of the trails where these people aren't going because they're fucking homeless. They don't have a reason to leave on a regular basis.
Yeah. Nor are they leaving by the regular trails, because then they're going to get spotted, and they don't want the police to know they're down there, ideally.
Because then the police are going to show up with bulldozers and bobcats to get them out of there.
Yeah, exactly. And they're not that it's
heartbreaking. It's infuriating.
Give them a place to fucking stay. Just give them a place to fucking camp. Leave them there, and they'll be fine.
Are you telling me out of that entire city, there isn't one county or one city park that they can't just be like, we don't really need it? If you look at it, hell, all you'd have to do is have a fucking city government loves to piss away money on studies. Have an observer sit at every city park and check usage. Take the one that has the least amount of usage, flatten the son of a bitch, and there's enough scrap rims laying around. Give them fire pits, and just say, "Here, this is your area."
It would see the problem why that would never work is because the people who would get selected, and from having been involved in city government enough, I can tell you that the people who would get selected are all going to be upper middle class. They're all going to be the obnoxious do-gooders.
Yeah.
And they're going to tell their friends what they're doing. And so their friends are going to all go out of their way to start going to those parks while they're being observed. They'll have never been to the park before.
They probably
they're all
didn't
going to
even
start
know
going
that the
there.
park existed.
Yep. They never cared until that moment because NIMBY, not in my backyard. That's what would happen.
Or, I just heard the other day, aren't they trying to pass a city or a referendum with the school board so they can build a combined high school with Central and Logan? So if that goes through, take the old school buildings, and now these people have a permanent residence that they can put their name on.
Oh, that wouldn't work. I'm honest enough to know that wouldn't work. Don't give them a permanent residence that isn't entirely theirs. Don't do that. That's going to be that is a recipe for disaster. I'm just telling you now. Like I'm with as passionate as I am about homeless rights and everything else, I do acknowledge who a lot of these people really are, and deep down it's going to get destroyed, not because of the majority of people, but there's going to be those individuals who are just piles of shit who are going to ruin things just because they can, because it's not theirs. Whereas if everything around them belongs to someone, like in a homeless encampment, everything belongs to someone, they actually worry imminently about getting their ass beat, and so they don't pull that shit.
That's fair.
But you can't even send them to jail because they're not afraid of jail. It's just better housing and better food. They don't care.
Right.
Yeah, they have to worry about actually getting their ass beat. And at that point, then they behave themselves. So fist fight the homeless, I guess, is the message of that. No, don't do that. That's not what I'm saying. Okay, so now that we're all nice and pissed off, let's get pissed off and also laugh. There's a couple of different ways we can do this, but I think this is a pissed off and laughed thing. This just happened. You may or may not have heard, but Tyreek Hill is detained by police before the Dolphins game. Officer is subsequently placed on leave.
Wait. So he was detained or arrested on his way to the game today?
Directly outside of the stadium.
Oh my gosh.
Tyreek Hill of the Miami Dolphins was handcuffed and placed face down on a street outside the team's stadium after he was stopped for speeding and reckless driving, allegedly driving Sunday morning before the Dolphins' first game of the season. An incident that left the star wide receiver baffled and resulted in a police officer being placed immediately on administrative leave. The officer, who was not identified, was one of at least 3 involved in detaining Hill. Some fans saw Hill being handcuffed and captured video on their way to the game, which quickly went viral on social media. Miami-Dade Police Director Stephanie V. Daniels said she had launched an internal affairs investigation. Told after the game that the officer was placed on leave pending the outcome of the investigation, Hill said, "Well, that should tell you everything you need to know." Added defensive tackle Calais Campbell, who was also briefly handcuffed after coming to his teammates' aid. Calais Campbell, whatever. That makes sense based on the situation. Hill, who said he respected police officers, why, and wants to be one when he retires from football, why, said he had, quote, no idea why police placed him in handcuffs. I wasn't disrespectful because my mom didn't raise me that way, Hill said. Didn't cuss, didn't do none of that. Like I said, I'm still trying to figure it out, man. Hill starred on the field for the Dolphins, catching 7 passes for 130 yards, including an 80-yard touchdown that helped Miami rally for a 2017 win over the Jacksonville Jaguars. Hill celebrated the score by mimicking being handcuffed.
Well played, sir. Well played.
Oh, yeah. Hill, who is black, obviously, I don't think I even need to say that, but said he didn't want to use his celebrity to get out of the situation, but wondered what would have happened if he weren't an NFL star. I don't want to bring race into it, but sometimes it gets kind of iffy when you do, he said. What if I wasn't Tyreek Hill? Lord knows what that guy or guys would have done. I was just making sure that I was doing what my uncle always told me to do whenever you're in a situation like that. Just listen, put your hands on the steering wheel, and just listen. Daniel said in a statement earlier Sunday that she requested an immediate review of the details surrounding the incident, adding that the department would review available body cam footage. In a later statement, Daniel said, I'm committed to transparency and accountability to the community with any situation involving my officers. Doubt it, but this one happens to involve a very famous black man, and that's why you're responding.
That's right.
Hill said everything happened so fast it caught him off guard. I'm just glad that my teammates were there to support me in that situation because I felt alone, Hill added. Campbell said he was driving into Hard Rock Stadium when he saw Hill handcuffed and he stopped to help. The 17-year NFL veteran ended up also in handcuffs, saying officers told him it was because he disobeyed their direct orders.
That is a big, big man.
Yeah.
Calais Campbell is 6'8", 307 with 35 3/4-inch arms and 9.5-inch hands.
He's a big dude.
That is a big man.
Said, I feel like excessive force. I get out of the car to kind of try to de-escalate the situation, Campbell said, also calling the incident extreme. Hill, who led the NFL in receiving yards in 2023, said he spoke to his wife and family after he was detained and before the game kicked off. His agent, Drew Rosenhaus, called it a heartbreaking situation on ESPN. How things escalated into the situation that they were in handcuffs and being held on the ground with police is mind-boggling to me, Rosenhaus said. I'm deeply concerned by that, very troubled. We will be looking into it. We will be investigating this. We will look out for Tyreek, but I'm not going to make any allegations at this time. The most important thing is Tyreek is okay physically. Mentally, he was very distraught about what happened. NFL spokesman Brian McCarthy said the league has been in contact with the Dolphins, but declined to comment further. He was pulled over allegedly for speeding and driving recklessly. Okay? Allegedly. There's no video of that. Nothing.
But then the officer was immediately placed on administrative leave. Obviously, we can all tell it's because of the star power of somebody like Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
But so he wouldn't have put him on administrative leave at all if he wasn't full of shit either.
Well, yeah, and here's the thing that you need to remember. What happened, and this article has been slightly revised since I initially saw it to tame the language down, even though the original language was correct. He was placed in handcuffs. His feet were kicked out from under him, and he was slammed face first onto the ground.
Oh.
That is what happened. When Campbell shows up to try and intervene, he gets handcuffed and thrown into his own car. So, as Hill pointed out,
that'll become Tyreek Hill's new, every touchdown he has a different offensive lineman come and pretend to cuff him, because most of the offensive linemen are like white boys.
Yeah, see, that would be a beautiful thing. I think
I would laugh so hard. Oh man, I'd watch every Dolphins game just for that.
Yeah, I would actually start rooting for the Dolphins over that. That would be that would be amazing. because I want to see that get done in the Super Bowl. Like,
Oh man. The kicker runs onto the field after the touchdown and pins him down, cuffs him.
that would be funny. But yeah, so that just happened. That is breaking news. If you haven't heard it yet, you heard it here first. You're welcome, kids.
No, I hadn't heard about that. That's fantastic.
Yes.
I fully expect there to be a Tom Grossi breakdown of that at some point. I hope
so. There's video. The video can be seen on TikTok. It can be seen on YouTube.
Jason. Kickers can't do that. They'll get injured.
Yeah. My leg. Yeah, well, kickers are made out of glass.
Spot on again, too. He says, pulled over for being a certain shade of color while driving. I'm guessing quite a nice car.
Yep. He got pulled over for being a black man in possession of an awful nice vehicle way too close to all the white folk.
Uh-huh. Never mind the fact that he was in the players' fucking parking lot.
Yeah, he wasn't yet. He was on the road to get there. He was literally on a road that goes past the stadium. He was getting there, and he was pulled over, and he was thrown to the ground, everything else. And we can assume he wasn't hurrying because it's not like he was late, right? Like that incident happened, and he still just, after he was released,
he went and actually had a really nice game.
Yeah. So we can assume he wasn't in like a hurry. He wasn't panicked, anything else, but he was still really upset about it, which he should be.
Absolutely.
So
in fact, I so hope that he decides to turn around and sue the cop for being a piece of shit. Because he's the type of guy who has the money to do so.
Yeah. But the fact that he's also a cop humper makes me go, probably not going to be any consequences from that. Well, I think though that he wants to be a cop because he wants to try and be the better cop. What he doesn't realize is that's never going to happen, right? You can't change the system from the inside. The system changes you from the inside.
The system is designed to be broken.
Right. In order to get to a point within the system that you can actually affect any real change, you have to have played the system's game, which will mentally ruin you, and you will simply become yet another person playing the system's game. And that's what's going to happen if he decides he wants to do that after he retires. The thing is what he would do better doing is just doing community outreach to underprivileged communities.
Yeah.
Yeah, as Shell said, he's a Florida cop. He's going to get qualified immunity. I mean, yeah. He's going to get qualified immunity. Nothing's actually going to happen to that cop. We all know it. Even though he was clearly being racist, even though he was clearly attacking him just because he was a black man in an awful nice car. Yep. And the whole reason that he got released was only because the cop realized he was Tyreek Hill and played for the Dolphins.
Yeah. Well, and then the same thing with Calais Campbell, too. I'm pretty sure it's when you're right next to a football stadium and you see a 6'8", 300+ pound guy walking towards you, is a pretty good, you can pretty well bet that he probably has a reason for being in that neighborhood.
Well, and I love he failed to follow direct orders. I'm sure. It's like that video that came out recently of that cop punching that handcuffed dude like more than 60 times in the face, screaming as the dude is in the cop car handcuffed, screaming, "Stop resisting," as he keeps punching him in the face.
Right. I wonder if Campbell could have just snapped the cuffs.
Probably.
I mean, probably. If he could get enough leverage. The challenge there would be, because his body is so massive, he might be at full extension just to get the cuffs around his wrists.
Oh, they'll do double cuffs in those instances. They'll double the cuffs up. But the thing is if you can move your wrists like this and you can get those changed to bind up, right?
They
so
break
the chains
real
bind
easy.
up on themselves. You do this and you come out all at once, and where the chain bonds to the cuff will actually snap out of the cuff pretty easily.
The more you know, ladies and gentlemen.
Not that I would be giving anyone that information for anything but purely informational purposes. In the event that you are illegally detained by like kidnappers or something else, just remember, if you can get the chains to bind up on themselves, you can generate enough leverage. You can rip those pins straight out of the bottom of the cuffs. Also, dislocating your thumb is painful, but if you can do it, you can slide your hand out of those cuffs. And your thumb will snap right back into place. So, just saying. But anyway.
This information is provided strictly for entertainment purposes and is in no way, size, shape, or form an endorsement of breaking free of your handcuffs as long as you are under lawful detention.
And if you are someone who is missing your thumbs, fun fact, you are impossible to handcuff. Because of the way that a handcuff is shaped, because of what it depends on,
right.
You actually are impossible to handcuff.
There. It depends on that hump on the thumb.
Yeah, because your hand can fold up to smaller than your wrist because all the bones move. So you can actually, no matter what, if it's designed to go around your wrist, you can, in fact, slide it through if you have no thumb. But so as long as we're raging at the feds and raging at cops, I think the next one to do that I really wanted to talk about, because this is truly absurd. I think the next thing that we talk
about. Hold up.
Sheller
goes, that cop's going to be doing something with a thumb for the next couple of days.
Sit and spin, motherfucker. Sit and spin.
You get it.
But outrage.
He's a cop. He's a cop. He probably would like it, the thumb unlubed.
I mean, the one thing that I feel bad about is now he's on administrative leave. His wife is probably going to bear the brunt of that frustration.
Yeah, so, he's a cop that acts like that. Strikes me as the type of person who actually lives the story of, what do you tell a woman with two black eyes? Nothing you told her twice already. Yep.
That's probably that poor cop's wife here in the next few days, because statistically 40% reported, 68% estimated. But anyway, outrage at feds in tactical gear indicting South Dakota ranchers over 75-year-old fence line.
Now you're going to piss me off. This whole thing just infuriates me.
This is absurd on a level that I can't wrap my head around. It says ranchers
across beyond the absurdity of the frickin' Bundy Ranch.
Yeah, ranchers across the U.S. have expressed outrage over the Forest Service prosecuting a South Dakota ranch couple for allegedly stealing public land. The feds, who showed up armed and in tactical gear, say a fence that's been on the owner's land for 75 years crosses a boundary with federal grasslands. A South Dakota couple is fighting federal indictments served to them by a U.S. Forest Service agent who allegedly showed up unannounced on their front steps, armed and in tactical gear. The agent was there to serve them with indictments in a modern-day range war between the ranchers and the feds. Quote, "It's stressful, financially and mentally, something nobody should have to go through." End quote. Rancher Charles Maud of Caputa, South Dakota, told Cowboy State Daily on Tuesday. He and his wife, Heather, who is a Wyoming native, were served with separate federal grand jury indictments June 24th for alleged theft of government property. The government claims the fence put up by the ranchers is over a boundary with federal grasslands. The charges carry a maximum penalty of 10 years in prison and a $250,000 fine. The indictments were served by Forest Service Special Agent Travis Lunders. Lunders. According to reports, Lunders showed up unannounced at the Maud's home, armed and in full tactical gear to serve the indictments. The incident has sparked nationwide outrage. Rachel Gable, assistant editor of the Fence Post, a national agricultural newspaper, told Cowboy State Daily, "I think there will be accountability."
Fat fucking chance of that.
Yeah, sure there will. There are a number of members of Congress who are anxious to get him, meaning Lunders, in front of their committees, said Gable, who knows the Mauds and has been covering their story. Forest Service spokesman Scott Jacobson told Police State Daily that the agency can't comment on the case because it's an ongoing legal matter. Heather and Charles Maud also likewise said they couldn't discuss the case in detail because it is ongoing, on advice, I'm sure, of their attorneys. Since each spouse was given a separate indictment, quote, they can't even talk about the case with one another, Gable said. This is important because that's why that happened.
Yep.
Is so that they couldn't talk about it with each other.
And actually,
Heather,
that's there's that would be really hard to enforce because of marital privilege.
yes, it would.
With marital privilege laws, they would be able to talk to each other about each other's cases simply because they couldn't be compelled to testify against one another.
Yes, and they couldn't. They can't be compelled to say what they said to each other.
Correct. It's the same reason
Heather,
why married couples who work in healthcare can talk to each other about case specific things, because there's no way to. They can't be held against you because there's no way to enforce it.
yeah, and as Charles pointed out, they will try anyway, and they will. They will try, and if anything comes up, if one develops some sort of a legal defense that the other one also develops, they will try and argue that they clearly spoke about their cases and should be held in contempt, which will probably happen. Heather told Cowboy State Daily that she grew up on a multi-generational family ranch in northern Niobrara County, 56 miles from Lusk. She's a University of Wyoming graduate and at one time was the assistant editor of the Wyoming Livestock Roundup. The Maud's South Dakota Ranch is, quote, a direct-to-consumer beef and pork operation, end quote, and the meat is processed
That is why they're
in Wyoming.
Right there.
Yeah. A GoFundMe campaign, by the way, is up and has been set up to help the Mauds with their legal fees. As of Tuesday afternoon, it's raised $10,637 of $77,000 for their goal. At issue is a murky boundary between the Mauds land and national grassland controlled by the Forest Service. Several generations of the Maud family have ranched there since the 1910s, and the family has leases on the adjoining national grasslands. The disputed boundary is along a fence line that's about 75 years old, and at one point the Mauds attached no hunting signs on one of the posts. After a hunter complained about the sign, the Forest Service told them to remove it March 29th, and this is where they made their first mistake. They did. Adding that the Mauds, Gable said, adding that the Mauds haven't yet been shown any documentation of the hunter's complaint. On May 1st, the Mauds met with Julie Wheeler, the Forest Service District Ranger for the Fall Ranger District Buffalo Gap National Grassland. It was decided during that meeting that a land survey was in order to settle the property boundaries once and for all. Wheeler told the couple that might take up to a year. Okay, up to a year. Then, miraculously, 5 days later, Lunders showed up with a survey crew without any prior notice or permission to enter the ranch. On June 24th, 87 days after the Mauds were told to take down the no trespassing sign, Lunders showed up on their front steps without notice, in full tactical gear and fully armed to serve the indictments. For the case, quote, to go from 0 to 120 miles per hour in 87 days, end quote, has left many in the agricultural community feeling baffled and angry, Gable said. There have been ongoing tensions between the Forest Service and ranchers in the area, she added. The Forest Service has long said they want to be good neighbors, and taking shots at easy targets isn't exactly being good neighbors.
Bullshit. They don't want to be good neighbors. In fact, their goal is to get you off your land altogether.
Yeah. See, here's the thing. Here's the thing is that this isn't about being good neighbors. This isn't about caring about an alleged unproven hunter's complaint. This isn't about any of that. What this is about is that they dared, by requesting a property survey, they dared to question the authority of that Forest Service employee, Lunders.
Yes.
And the moment they did, he went full Cartman, went, respect my authority. And that is why this is happening. Not because they did anything wrong, not because there was ever any issue up to that point. It's because this one motherfucker decided, how dare you question my authority?
And I'm not saying there's a solution in the Constitution for people like this, but we previously discussed
there's a constitutional amendment that's written to deal with this.
Yes.
It's pretty early
I'm
on
just
in the Bill of Rights.
saying that it's there. I'm not going to say which one it might be, but I'm just saying it's present.
This is the thing, though, that we keep seeing happen with BLM, with Forest Service, with the twig pigs, right? We keep seeing this happen, where the moment that somebody questions their authority, innocently in this case, like they're just like, okay, well, you're saying that my fence line is across the property. I'm saying it's not. Let's just get a survey done.
So we can fix it.
Yeah, and an independent survey, right? We're going to hire somebody that's not part of the government to come out, who's a professional appraiser and surveyor, who's going to come out. They're going to do their thing. They're going to figure out exactly where the property lines officially are and historically have always been. And we're just going to answer this question. And that just seems reasonable, right? His response is, I'm going to bring up my own survey team. They're government people. We're going to decide. And within moments of that happening, I'm going to show up in full fucking tactical gear with my gun drawn and demand that you come out here and serve you 2 separate indictments, specifically to try and get you to be separated so you can't coordinate your shit.
Mm-hmm. And the fact that the fact that they both have 2 separate indictments tells me that whatever case he thinks he has is paper thin. And and the reason I say that is because if they can't supposedly talk about what's happening amongst each other because of the separate indictments, he's hoping that during the line of questioning in the grand jury, one of them will trip up and they'll have something to stand on.
Yeah, which is, again, because they have marital privilege, they can completely talk about this. They completely discuss this and just work this out. But the thing is no, see, here's the thing, and this is the diabolical thing. They jointly requested that survey. Okay. They jointly requested it. What he's hoping is that this is going to force them to pay for a second survey because they need one for each court case. Except it doesn't work like that, homie.
Nope.
The survey is the survey is the survey. They can reuse it. Go fuck yourself. And 2, they're still going to talk about it, and you can't stop them.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what this is. It's also because he's hoping that if he can't get one, maybe he can get the other.
Right. That's what I was talking about, is because they're going to be in front of 2 separate grand juries. He's hoping that in their line of questioning, he can trip one of them. Well, yeah, and if he can trip one of them, then they'll go to the court. When they go to the court, they'll try to use the trip up by the one as admissible evidence against the other.
Well, and the other reason, and this is the other reason, right? This is the big reason, is because wife can say, well, it's been my family's boundary. It's always been the boundary that my family has had. Husband can't say that. because it wasn't his family's boundary. That isn't his family's property. He's also hoping for that. And that's really what he's hoping for, is that even if he loses out on her, he can still get him. That is what he's hoping for. Because this fucking twig pig is the most diabolical kind of fucking tyrant. And I'm not saying that he's the reason why the French Revolution went the way that it did, but he's exactly the kind of person that the French probably would have thrown in the Bastille post-revolution and then marched out.
I was going to
wood
say
and metal contraption.
I was going to say, and gotten the Marie Antoinette haircut.
And the thing is people like this would be mystified by that. Like, what? Why? Why are you doing? I was just doing my job. This is the kind of motherfucker that says, I'm just doing my job to get home to my family.
Yeah.
That's this kind of fucking motherfucker right here. This bastard.
I don't make the rules. I just enforce them. So right there,
exactly.
You just admitted that you sacrifice your own moral compass for a fucking paycheck because you're a piece of shit.
Yeah, except that he isn't sacrificing his own moral compass. He has none. He's a narcissist and a megalomaniac and a pile of fucking shit. Lunders, by the way, Lunders. That guy.
Fun fact, ladies and gentlemen, your rights are being stolen by people with names and addresses. Do with that.
So if you are in Wyoming and you encounter this agent, just know he's a raving fucking psychopath and untrustworthy as hell.
Yeah. South Dakota, by the way.
Well, South Dakota or Wyoming. Okay, so
might as well throw Montana in for extra credit.
Now that we've done that, let's get to one that I know. I know women who would be upset by this. And I think that many of our viewers would know women upset by this. California is cracking down on Flamin' Hot Cheetos and Twinkies.
The fuck?
State lawmakers have voted to ban chemicals used in both snacks from school lunchrooms. That's right. Government has decided that you no more Flamin' Hot Cheetos. There are a bunch of Latina teenagers right now who are ready to fucking riot. And I am sure,
especially in California,
I am sure that Josh and Sandy are going to listen to this and just lose their shit.
God.
So,
let's see here. I'm trying to figure out, because where the hell does it say what the compound is?
Move over, Michelle Obama. The California legislature just passed a school meal rule that could really leave a mark. State lawmakers on Thursday voted to prohibit California schools from serving food additives used in Flamin' Hot Cheetos, Twinkies, and other fluorescent snacks. The move, backers argue, is necessary to limit intake of dyes that have been linked to worsen behavioral issues in kids who have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder or ADHD. Quote,
how
California
about you stop feeding them? How about you stop feeding kids nothing but garbage processed bullshit and give them actual food?
That would also probably wind up being illegal in the state of California, let's be honest.
Well, yeah, because natural food has chemicals known to the state of California to fucking cause cancer.
That actually brings up an interesting random fact. The song that I played at the beginning of the episode is called Eat the Bugs.
Did that earlier by accident. Had a fly down my throat.
Oh, I hate that. Gnats are really bad for that too.
Yeah.
But California has a responsibility to protect our students from chemicals that harm children and interfere with their ability to learn. Democratic Assembly member Jesse Gabriel, the author of the bill, said in a statement, "As a lawmaker, a parent, and someone who struggled with ADHD, I find it unacceptable that we allow schools to serve foods with additives that are linked to hyperactivity and neurobehavioral harms."
Prove it. Show me the evidence. For first and foremost, show me the evidence. Secondly, it's none of your fucking business. And thirdly, no.
Don't forget, you don't own your children if you send them to public school. The state does. Governor Gavin Newsom still needs to sign the first in the nation proposal, but fear of a children's uprising did not prevent him from signing a similar bill last year that outlawed the sale of food containing a dye used in Peeps. Well, if it's only used in Peeps, I mean, is that a loss to anyone? I don't think we really care, but no sane person cares.
An earlier version of the 2023 law would have outlawed titanium dioxide across California, which earned the title of the Skittles ban on some corners of the internet because it's used to color the candy, though that provision was eventually removed.
Especially because titanium dioxide is inherently non-reactive, which is why it gets used in candy coatings, because it keeps them from sticking together because it's not fucking reactive. But anyway,
it's incredibly stable. I mean,
it's non-reactive and it's opaque, right? That's why it gets used, is because it's a great base. You put the titanium dioxide down, and then the bright colors can go on the candy, and so they're nice and they're bright and they're opaque, and that's why. And it's super non-reactive. And Jesus. Anyway, addressing conservative criticism, Newsom attached to his signing message a bag of the candy that was produced in Europe, where manufacturers tweaked the recipes when the European Union banned the same chemical. Ah, yes, Europe, the font of human freedom. Industry opponents have been fighting this year's bill and disputing reports about its damage to people's health. Quote, it's unfortunate that scientifically proven safe ingredients have been demonized for the purpose of advancing a political agenda. John Hewitt of the Consumer Brands Association said in a statement. The passage of this bill could cost schools and families money, limited choices and access, and create consumer confusion. Yes, I completely agree with that part of it. The proposal wouldn't stop stores from selling food containing the dyes or prevent kids from bringing their own candies of choice to school. But Gabriel hopes it will nudge food makers to change their formulas. This bill will empower schools to better protect the health and well-being of our kids and encourage manufacturers to stop using these harmful additives. They're not, though. Again, titanium dioxide, for instance. No, it's not reactive. A bunch of the shit that's in that is not reactive. I realize it may shock a whole bunch of people, but most producers of food don't want to knowingly poison their customers.
Because dead people don't eat fucking food.
Yeah. Yeah, and as Shell says there, how about you let parents be fucking parents and you stay the fuck out of it? Exactly. How about you let parents parent and decide? How about you stay the hell away from our flaming hot fucking Cheetos? Personally, I don't like flaming hot Cheetos. I don't know why anybody would like them anyway.
I've never been a huge on the flaming hot products in general, like the flaming hot Doritos. They just kind of meh.
Like, I like spicy stuff. Don't get me wrong. I love spicy stuff, but I want to have some flavor, and I don't feel like Flamin' Hot Cheetos does. Personally, controversial opinion. Maybe.
I agree with you. I'd say the same for like Flamin' Hot Doritos. To me, it tastes like they just put pure capsaicin oil on it. I'm like, here.
Yeah, like the jalapeno Cheetos, right? You can get those like jalapeno cheddar or whatever Cheetos. Those things are freaking amazing. I will eat those all day. I will go through an entire bag. I love those things, right? Absolutely love those things. The flaming hot ones really not my thing. They're just spicy. There's not flavor to them. They're just spicy.
Shallow. Flamin' Hot Cheetos and Doritos and all that shit tastes like ass. There, I said it.
Do you want to know the most offensive thing, though, that has to do with Flamin' Hot Cheetos? I ordered the other day a Nashville hot chicken sandwich in a restaurant.
That sounds good.
I love Nashville hot chicken sandwiches. They're fantastic. They're one of my favorite sandwiches. I love Nashville hot. Do you know what their version of Flamin' Hot? It was Flamin' Hot Cheeto dust. That was what they coated the chicken in, was Flamin' Hot Cheeto dust to make it in Nashville. That's no, that wasn't it. That wasn't at a carnival. That wasn't at a fest. That was at an actual sit-down restaurant.
All right.
They coated.
You have to put them on blast because that's blasphemy.
I don't actually. I want to say that was Milwaukee Burger, but I could be wrong.
No, that sounds like it.
It might have been Milwaukee Burger. They coated the chicken patty.
Shaller.
No, not my thing, man. Not my thing. But
we don't like pink eye or Shaller. We're just not big fans.
Good Lord. No, so like I order a Nashville hot. I'm like, ooh, you have Nashville hot chicken sandwich. This sounds great. And so I order it. And it's just a chicken patty that they have mixed into the breading, crushed up flaming hot Cheeto, and they call that Nashville hot. That is not Nashville hot.
Ugh.
You northern white ass motherfuckers. Okay, that is not. No, that is unacceptable. That is unacceptable.
That's like I went to a place. I won't. It was a small, dive restaurant of sorts here in Wisconsin, and they said they served Bayou Gumbo is what they called it. I said, let me see the cook. Let me see the guy who's making this so-called Bayou Gumbo. And they had this Hispanic guy come out of the kitchen. I'm like, no, you don't have Bayou Gumbo. You have some bullshit you pulled off the internet. Now, if that guy came out of there with one eye half squinted shut, going, you're going to die. You ate my gumbo. All right, yeah, give me that.
Man, it's so good. It's so good. It's so good, my man. And you're going to slap your mama guarantee. At that point, yeah.
Give me that gumbo.
Yeah, that's going to be good gumbo, right? That gumbo had better have truly authentic andouille in it. It better have okra in it. And it better be the right kind of spices where I think this is delicious immediately before it actively attempts to kill me.
Yeah, exactly.
That is proper gumbo.
That's like if you go to a restaurant, and I don't know who likes biscuits and gravy. I used to eat it quite a bit. But
hell yeah.
If you go and you order biscuits and gravy, ask if the cook is a Southern grandma. Because if it's a Southern grandma, you're going to have good biscuits and gravy.
Oh, I've had good biscuits and gravy from people who aren't Southern grandmas, but like, man, if I get biscuits and gravy and I cannot see the pepper in the gravy,
it's not biscuits and gravy.
No, that's just going to be miserable. That's not going to be interesting. That's going to be terrible. No. Oh, I made biscuits and gravy.
What's that?
I made biscuits and gravy once, and I used this like Maplewood smoked pork sausage for it. Oh, it was so good. It was so good.
One time when many years ago when I was with my ex-wife, we went down to visit her grandma in the mountains of West Virginia. And she made venison sausage. She went out and cut it off of the deer that morning, ground it up, made it sausage, then turned it into the best biscuits and gravy I've ever had.
That sounds good. I mean, depending, because my problem with a lot of venison sausage is people instead of using pork fat in the sausage, which is
they
what you
use
should be
beef,
doing,
or they try to use the venison fat, which is not good.
Oh God. Oh, they'll try to use the venison fat, and that's just insufferable. You can't eat that.
No,
That's
it'll make
no.
you gag.
It's
But
so bad.
no, she had pork fat in the fridge because she knew I loved biscuits and gravy, and we had shot a deer 2 days prior, and it was hanging out in the woodshed. So she just went out there and cut a bunch of meat off of it, trimmings, brought it in, trimmed it down, trimmed all the venison fat off, and then mixed it. And oh my god!
See, that's proper biscuits and gravy. That is how you do biscuits and gravy, and right there. I have one more article, really, really quick for us to cover that I just think is phenomenal, and it's from a little while ago. It's from the 22nd of August, but it's been about a month since we did a show. So, federal judge tosses Kansas City machine gun possession case on Second Amendment grounds.
Yes, yes.
A U.S. District Court judge in Kansas on Wednesday dismissed machine gun possession charges against a defendant, finding the prosecutors hadn't proven the weapons can be banned under the Second Amendment. The decision marks a potentially seismic shift in firearms regulation if it is appealed and stands. Machine guns have been prohibited for decades since the NFA, and not truly prohibited, just registered. A ban that has remained in place even as restrictions on guns have been dramatically weakened in Kansas, Missouri, and other states over time. Judge John W. Brooms, an appointee of former President Donald Trump, dismissed 2 machine gun possession counts against Tamori Morgan, who was indicted by a federal grand jury on April 2023. Brooms wrote that prosecutors hadn't met their burden under 2 landmark U.S. Supreme Court gun rights cases, Bruin and Rahimi. Thank you, Firearms Policy Coalition, for that.
FPC, Grassroots Army, join up, join or die.
Yeah, known for their "fuck you no" Firearms Policy Coalition.
Yeah, I couldn't find that one.
Yeah, thank them for that. Also, I do want to say that their new membership cards are phenomenal. Absolutely love them. Although they smack of the album cover for Spinal Tap.
Yeah, I still have the old one in my wallet.
See, that's the one that matches the sticker that I have on my on my microphone. But anyway, those 2, Bruin and Rahimi, require firearms restrictions to have historical analogs at the time of the nation's founding. The government, quote, fails to meet its burden to demonstrate the possession of the types of weapons at issue in this case are lawfully prohibited under the Second Amendment, Brooms wrote. Every Town Law, a gun safety group, just want to make sure that they understand I am doing this as hard as I can.
I cannot tell every town to fuck off harder.
Yeah. Said laws banning machine guns are crucial to public safety and call them weapons of war. They are weapons of war, which is exactly why the Second Amendment protects them, you bitch. It is appalling that the district court would so brazenly put the deadly agenda of the gun lobby over decades of safety of Kansans. Are you unfamiliar with the founding of the state of Kansas? Because
I'm pretty sure the founding of the state of Kansas is pretty part and partial to the beginning of the Civil fucking War.
Yeah, I was gonna say Kansas was known as Bleeding Kansas. It was the first battles of the Civil War. John fucking Brown did his thing originally before he went to Harper's Ferry, right? Before Brown went to Harper's Ferry, where did he go? He was in Kansas. That was where he was. Now, whether or not what he did was entirely moral, I'm not going to say. But the point is, Kansas is where the Civil War effectively started in 1859. So,
fun fact.
Aaron Smith, an assistant U.S. attorney, said in court documents the U.S. Supreme Court had made clear the regulations of machine guns fall outside the Second Amendment. Even if Brooms concluded the Second Amendment applies to the possession of machine guns, the law is consistent with the nation's historical tradition of firearms regulations, the standard set in Bruin. They didn't, but okay. In his decision, Brooms acknowledged that prosecutors may prove in the future that machine guns can be restricted under Bruin. The court expresses no opinion as to whether the government could, in some other case, meet its burden to show historically analogous restriction that would justify the federal banning machine guns, he wrote. Because remember, this is a court opinion. He said simply they failed to prove it in this instance. Now, theoretically, maybe they could come up with something, although historically we know since Bruin, what laws do they tend to default to, right? They tend to default to laws from the pre-colonial era in England. They tend to default to laws during the pre-revolutionary era in the American colonies, and they tend to default to laws that restricted the gun ownership of Native Americans and African Americans. So, given that, because, and I realize this may shock people, all gun laws are racist.
What? No.
Yeah. So that's fun. I do have one more. We only have a few more minutes. I don't know. Do you want to cover the FBI getting robbed? I'll run through it real quick. Thieves ransack FBI truck in San Francisco, trades pricey gear for $20 worth of meth.
If that's not the most San Francisco headline ever, I don't know what is.
Oh my God. A thief raided an FBI truck in broad daylight in San Francisco last month, making off with flashbang grenades, a tear gas launcher, millions of dollars worth of surveillance equipment, and several bulletproof vests, all of which he allegedly traded for a $20 bag of meth.
Man, rotting your teeth must be a powerful drug.
Gregory Acosta Alvarez, 29, was arrested earlier this month after he was allegedly caught on multiple surveillance cameras breaking into the truck around 6:45 a.m. on August 7th when it was parked downtown on Natoma Street, the Santa Cruz Sentinel reported, citing court records. After loading up on ill-gotten equipment, he mounted his bicycle. Just picture that for a moment. His bicycle and rode to a hotel he was staying at less than a quarter mile away. Agents paid him a visit at the hotel by 3 p.m. that afternoon, but by then the ballistic vest, valued at around $1,500, and the tear gas grenades and gun were nowhere to be found. When investigators quizzed Alvarez about the bumbling yet brazen heist, he claimed to have traded the missing items for $20 worth of meth. He remains in custody awaiting charges on felony theft of government property, burglary, grand theft, and drug possession in connection with the incident and arrest in 2023. All I can think of is that scene from Simpsons. The
Nelson. Yeah.
No one is safe in San Francisco.
God, no.
Well, wasn't there that article about that woman that's advocating for the homeless in San Francisco that got robbed by homeless people in San Francisco?
Yes.
God, San Francisco is such a shithole.
Honestly, I think I'd be safer in the DRC than I would be in San Francisco.
Yeah, probably. You might get respected a little more there. You would be safer in the ghettos of Johannesburg at this point than San Francisco. I
think the only place you'd be less safe than in San Francisco would be if you went to Port-au-Prince.
You know, the only thing that offends me about that entire story is that he traded for only $20 worth of meth. Like, dude, do you know how much you could have gotten for that? Like, what are you doing, bro? What are you doing, bro?
I mean, that's a shitload of money in gear. I mean, the freaking tear gas launcher, I bet you it was one of those, what the hell are they? The rotary thumper.
Yeah, it was probably an M2, is it 230 or 320? I'm spacing right now.
I don't remember.
I don't know. I've had a very large and extremely mediocre whiskey sour.
You got to put it on and then spin it. Yeah.
It's actually got a clockwork spring in it, which is fun. But anyway, yeah. So I am only offended that I was not given a phone call like, "Hey, do you want some of this?" Because I would have given him at least $100.
Well, yeah, he'd have had a lot more success that way.
Yeah, I would have given him at least $100 for it, and so I am vaguely offended that I did not get a phone call about it, but it is
Just
what it is.
vaguely offended, maybe mildly annoyed.
Oh, I lost my mustache. There's a mustache. I have a little charm thingy. It's from a brewery tour thing. It's this trail across Wisconsin, and you get these
Okay.
little charms that represent each one of the bars or the
Oh,
breweries that you stop at. And I stopped at Ringling Brothers in Baraboo. Highly recommend it, by the way. Highly recommend it. But
I've
it
heard
had
they
a
got good
little.
stuff down there.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. The venue is incredible, but
Have you
it
been to
had a little
Hillsboro?
mustache on it. Hillsboro one, I don't think is on that trail, but I haven't been there yet, so that's
Oh.
definitely one I got to go to.
You guys will have to come down. I mean, if you want to come down for a weekend, we can set up the pop-up camper and set you guys up with a place to sleep, so we can get as tore up as we want. We can go down to Hillsboro. Like, great food, good beer.
We maybe we'll have to do that like next weekend or something. I don't know if I have anything going on.
Well,
But
if you guys
anyway,
come down, if you come down next weekend, then you can be here for Kate's birthday party on Sunday too.
oh yeah, we'll see. There we go. We can get super drunk and celebrate the kiddo's birthday. All kinds of fun. But anyway, let's do plugs because we got about 7 minutes and we got to get out of here.
I mean, you've been seeing them scroll across the bottom of the screen the entire episode. If you like coffee, Jeremy from the Cordings Coffee Company, Coffee Brand Coffee. No politics, just coffee. Follow the link, you get a discount. I get a little kickback. You support the channel.
Yeah, there you go. Also, we are sponsored by Poppins Patches. Dave over at Poppins Patches makes absolutely fantastic patches. I highly recommend. They are absolutely awesome. They're super high quality. If you have 10 or 15 bucks to spend on a patch, you will do way worse going anywhere but to Dave. He's got absolutely amazing stuff. He also does custom stuff. So if you guys want any custom stuff,
Show them the
definitely check
custom
him
one
out.
made for you, Andrew.
I'm not going to get up and go all the way across the room to go grab the stupid bird
Freedom
on the
chicken.
windshield. Yeah, we're not gonna do that. But he does custom patches. They're super amazing, and they don't fade. They're absolutely great. They're great designs. They're really high quality. He also makes t-shirts, including one that we may be somewhat familiar with the design of because we helped design it, and several patches that we helped design as well.
I kind of want to get a flag with that shirt design on it.
That would be cool. That would be cool. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, definitely check out Dave at Poppins Patches. Absolutely worth every dime that you're going to spend with them. So awesome. I think he's still doing the Abolish ATF for 15% off. So check that out. Absolutely worth it. We're going to have him do some Anarchy Among Friends merch here soon, so that we can pass that on to you guys if you want to help support us. Also, we are sponsored by right there, Reaper Brand Apparel. Absolutely awesome company, absolutely awesome stuff. The most fantastic message of any company I've ever seen. Check out their Instagram, follow them for daily thoughtfulness and mindfulness videos. Take their 10-day challenge. It's life-changing. It's absolutely superb. I highly recommend them. And we are proud to be sponsored by them, as well as, well, you can kind of see it behind my microphone, Lions Not Sheep. I highly recommend their Free Man and Free Woman t-shirts. They're a simple statement, but boy, do they make things pretty clear. The founder also has written a book that's super great called Radical Change Requires Radical Change. That is a fantastic book. I have a t-shirt of it. You've probably seen me wear it on the show. I have several other shirts, several other patches from them. Super awesome, super worth it. Check them out, Lions Not Sheep. We are also sponsored by RK Spookware. If you know who they are, you know what they do, and you know why you need them, and you should check them out and get stuff from them. If you don't know who they are and you don't know what they do, and you don't know why you would need them, you probably don't need them, but you should get into the thing that they do, that they help out with, because I think every American should be into it. As the thing scrolling across the bottom of the screen right now says, support your local single moms. They're trying to work their way through medical school. It's tough. They need money. Make sure you check them out. What is their website? If you're talking about RK Spookware, that is a link in our link tree that gets to them and gets to them through a link that will give you the discount and also help support us, is my best recommendation. If memory serves, search engines will not find them. So check them out. And the last one, of course, our oldest sponsor, thebeardstruggle.com. If you want to care for your beard like I do, you want to care for it like a Viking, have it shiny, have it soft, have it smell freaking amazing, check out thebeardstruggle.com. Use code Anarchist15 when you're there, and you get 15% off of your entire order. They run periodic discounts and all sorts of other cool stuff, but if you use that particular code, you both save yourself money and you support the channel, which is super awesome, and we will love you forever if you do. Love you, sweetie. Other than that, they also have some great colognes. They have perfumes now. They have beard straighteners. They have all sorts of cool stuff. They have kits. Everything, man. They have beard oils. They have shampoos, conditioners, the works. They're super awesome company. And one of my fellow beard Vikings is Hafthor Bjornsson, and that in and of itself is super cool. So just for that, I think they're awesome, because I get to talk to him periodically in our little beard Viking chat. So that's always neat. Anything else? Any final thoughts?
Support your local single moms.
Well, we said that. Anything else? Just that.
Nah.
Just that. Yeah.
Don't go to the local strip club on a Tuesday night. There. Sage advice.
That one's important. However, I think coming up it might be next weekend. I don't remember exactly when it is, but there is a club in Winona that is going to have a tiny little bit of fun. Let's call it that. If you want to look it up, you can look it up. We're not going to talk about it on the show, but I really want to go. I really, really want to go. I think it's going to be a blast. So,
boys' night.
I look forward to
out
that.
Here at the camper. Let's go.
Yeah, I think that'll be great. But yeah, so thanks again for joining us for another ridiculous episode. We really needed an adult through this whole thing.
But we got here.
Yes. But we're here. We're here at the end. Black Stallion Saloon is what Shell says. See, he knows. He knows what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Call me, Shaler. Call me. We'll talk.
we got to figure this one out. But yes. So thank you so much. We love you guys for checking us out. Hopefully Jason is back soon and we can do regular episodes again. I'm also flirting with the idea of maybe we do some filler episodes of me just ranting about history. So that might be something that we do. But
are you trying to be the next fat electrician?
Yes. I'm better than him. I will debate him in history. I will talk history with it. If he wants to do a joint thing, people tag him on my stuff on TikTok all the time. They tag me on his stuff on TikTok all the time. I would love to do a show talking history with him. If anyone knows him to make that happen.
Mortgage officer versus fat electrician.
I'm all about that. That would be incredible. I think that would be amazing. We would have so much. It would be a very entertaining show. But yeah. So hopefully something like that happens soon. They did just on the Unsubscribed podcast, by the way, talk about lacrosse fairly recently. So
yeah, they talked about the smiley face killers and all that fun stuff.
Yeah. So we had talked about, and the fact that lacrosse is basically a GTA server, but that gets mentioned. But yeah, so thank you guys. You have a good night. We love you. Hope to see you in the next one. Peace.
Peace.